you? Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 8. James is not here because James has a paying gig, and for those of you who don't know, James was my producer on a show that I did out of Atlantic City. Gosh, a couple years ago now. I think we stopped doing it in 2015. What was it? We stopped doing it in 2015. So it's been a while. And when I decided to do the podcast, I just always had so much fun with James that I asked him if he wanted to do it with me. And he said, sure, I'll be happy to jump in. So, but he does have a paying gig tonight, so James is not here. This probably will not be a super long podcast because, as you can see, 7:45, Villanova will be playing Michigan, Sweet 16. All right, my Villanova, I forgot you have to go this way. It's backwards. It's really hard when it's backwards. I still haven't figured that out yet. So thank you for joining me. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. And if you could, just drop me a comment, because the comments I can put up here. Caroline's here. Mark is here. Yes, let's go Cats, Mark. Bill Haynes says audio is horrible again. Again with the audio horrible. Why does this keep happening? This happened last time too. Hold on, my IT department just walked in. That's my husband. He's gonna fix it. I had to go out. I had to leave and come back and restart all over again. Hold on, I just gonna audio. Let's try that one. Okay, we'll see if that's better. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay. Is that better? Is that any better? Just let me know in the comments. Bill, let me know if that's better. Good. It's good? Okay, so we're better. So my IT department's amazing. He fixed it. So I'm doing well. I've gotten a lot of notes from people asking how I'm doing. I'm doing fine. I have 3 more weeks of sitting around doing nothing. See if my doctor's watching. I have my handy dandy crutches. I'm not walking on it. I am practicing my range of motion though, like a good girl, and then icing. So 3 more weeks of that. So I have the best friends ever. I really do. Everybody, yeah, it's better. Linnea, Mark, thank you. Bill, audio is great now. Phil, thank you. Mark, audio is great. Thank you. Oh, and in the comments, going back to that, and then I'll show you what I want to show you. But going back to that, if you subscribed to the page, did it toss you to Google? Because in my Facebook group, someone said she tried to subscribe, but it tossed her to Google, and she didn't know why it would take her to Google. And I don't know why, because apparently you can't subscribe to your own page. So I tried, and I couldn't do it. So I guess I'm already subscribed in some way. So just if you could let me know in the comments, I'd appreciate that. Just very quickly, I have to give a shout out to Cal Thomas, because Cal sent me this. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Bob Beckel's book. Cal sent me that because Cal was a very, very good friends with Bob Beckel. They wrote a book together. And I knew Cal from my days I knew Bob from my days at Fox. It's also where I met Cal. And Bob was just an amazing person. What an amazing man. And you could have a disagreement with him, and you could go to town arguing, but it was never personal with Bob. And I loved that about Bob. And I lost touch with Bob when I left Fox, and then he left Fox. And then when I was in Washington, D.C., I ran into Bob at a media dinner the night before the prayer breakfast, which was an amazing experience. Getting to go to the prayer breakfast was unbelievable. And thank you to Cal Thomas for inviting me to that. But Cal would host a media dinner the night before, and Bob was there, and I walked in and I saw Bob, and we reconnected, and we met up a couple times because he lived not far from where I was living in Southern Maryland, just outside of the DC border. And we would go out to lunch and we'd talk politics, and Bob would look at me, he's like, "You don't really believe that, do you?" And I'm like, "No, I do." He's like, "Ugh." So Bob passed away, and Cal sent me a copy of Bob's book, since I have a lot of time to read because I'm stuck in bed all day. And then I have to thank my friend Terry and Frank, because they sent me this book to read, Black Rednecks and White Privilege. There you go. You can see my ring light in there. Sorry. Black Rednecks and White Privilege. There, maybe if I put it over to the side. By Thomas Sowell. Love Thomas Sowell. I'm really looking forward to that. And then they also sent Robert F. Kennedy's book, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, The Real Anthony Fauci, which I think is going to be a little bit of a deep read. So I'm saving this one to last. So I'm going to start off. So thank you so much to my wonderful friends for keeping me occupied while I sit in bed, because I'm watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm watching Married at First Sight. I did a documentary on Ethel Kennedy yesterday. I did a documentary on Mary Queen of Scots. So thank you so much to all my friends. Yeah, Phil says Bob was great on the five. Yeah, he was. Bob was amazing, and of course he left Fox. He just had a lot of struggles, and God bless him, because he really did. He was just a great guy. So, all right. So what I wanted to share with you, and give me feedback, please feel free to give me feedback about, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. I know a lot of people said, I got a lot of comments about doing lighter stuff, because it's the end of the day. You hear bad news all day, maybe something a little bit later, more lifestyle stuff. You guys can chime in. And then, of course, I get the comments about, don't go light now. You're serious. We want to hear, politics. So what I'm going to do today is just news that you probably haven't heard. And you can feel free to leave comments, and I will try to get them up on the screen as quickly as I can, and we can interact that way, because this show is still in its infancy, and I'm not paying for a phone number just for this show. Just yet, okay? I love you, but you can leave a comment. All right, I love this. Nancy Pelosi's husband, according to the Washington Free Beacon, her husband, Paul, exercised options to buy between 1 million and 5 million in shares of Tesla on March 17th. He purchased the option. Well, he exercised the option to buy. He purchased the option on the 22nd of December of 2020 at an overall contract value of between 500,000 and $1 million. In the meantime, Nancy Pelosi is pushing for all this money to go to green cars. This is what people are talking about when they're saying that members of Congress shouldn't be allowed to buy and trade stocks. Neither should members of their families. This is why he just made up to $5 million by purchasing this option, because he knows his wife is going to be pushing for green legislation in the Senate. And he knows that she's going to be spending tons of taxpayer money on building that infrastructure and everything else. And so he now sells, and shockingly, the price increased from $640 on December 22nd when he bought the options to $871 on March 17th. Who knew? If you or I did that, that's insider trading. We're going to jail. Martha Stewart went to jail. But if you're a member of Congress, it's fine. It's fine, because they're trustworthy. We can trust that. It's fine. It's no big deal. And I did not see that story anywhere. And so when I saw that story, I grabbed that up. Here's another one that I thought was interesting. And like I said, you can leave comments, and I will try to get to them. What did Mark say? Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me take this off of here. Hang on one second. Just get one man show here today. You're great because you're normal. That's why we've never went anywhere. Oh, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. All right, Donald Trump. So, he's going around and he's endorsing these politicians. And I've had the conversation many times about Donald Trump and his endorsements, and how I said I don't necessarily want him to run for president again. How I would kind of like him to be the kingmaker, be behind the scenes, be the kingmaker. He's just such a lightning rod for these people. There are just a segment of the population that loses their brains when they hear Donald Trump. So why give them that? And, be the kingmaker, be behind the scenes. So he had endorsed Mo Brooks in Alabama, in the Alabama Senate primary. Well, apparently when you endorse someone, you can do takebacks. I had no idea you could do takebacks on an endorsement. He unendorsed Mo Brooks. which I thought was hilarious because it's such a Trumpy thing to do. It cracks me up. Apparently, he said Mo Brooks of Alabama made a horrible mistake recently when he went woke and stated, referring to the 2020 presidential election scam, put that behind you, put that behind you, despite the fact that the election was rife with fraud and irregularities. When I endorsed Mo Brooks, he took a 44-point lead and was unstoppable. He then hired a new campaign staff who brilliantly convinced him to stop talking about the 2020 election. He listened to them. Then, according to the polls, Mo's 44-point lead totally evaporated. Very sad. But since he decided to go in another direction, so have I, and I am hereby withdrawing my endorsement of Mo Brooks. I don't know why, but I just find that hilarious. Oh God. Oh my gosh, Shimei. Okay. Everyone meet Shimei. I worked with Shimei back in my New Jersey 101.5 days long ago and far away. And Shimei would come with me because we were living it down by Trenton at the time, Ewing in that area, New Jersey, so near Trenton. And and our show was on, I think, 7 o'clock at night, Shimei. I think it was 7 o'clock. And I got my hair cut in Manhattan. I have no idea. Oh, because Jill Myra, who was the traffic reporter, found this great person to cut her hair, and the two of us are going to Manhattan to get our hair cut. I have no idea why. And it was this guy's house. It was like inexpensive, but it was a great cut. So I would drag Shimei with me into the city. We had so much fun. She has since turned over a new leaf and she is now a pastor. And I'm very proud of her. So good for you, Shimei. And thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. So Shimei's good people. Rosalinda. Yes, Rosalinda's been with me forever. Let's see. Yeah, Shirley. That's definitely Trumpy backing out of Mo. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so funny. Okay. From the Federalist, this is not being reported. So I felt a need to share it with you because we all have those friends who are still thinking that, that they saved the world by locking everybody down for 2 years, and they're still wearing their masks, and they still won't come near you if you haven't had a vaccine. They totally disregard natural immunity, all that other stuff. But there was a joint report that came out by the World Bank, UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and UNICEF. Remember Trick or Treat for UNICEF? I did that. And they zoned in on how much learning loss worldwide has affected children because of the pandemic and because of the lockdowns. So here's what they found. So first of all, Taiwan, Nicaragua, and Sweden decided not to close their schools. So you have three control groups: Taiwan, Nicaragua, and Sweden. So in March of 2020 is when everybody else closed their schools down. By April, a month later, UNESCO estimated that about 1.5 billion children worldwide have been forced to stay home due to school closures, and their regular education was disrupted. Some did remote learning from school, but they found that kids from disadvantaged backgrounds often didn't get a lot of online learning for a variety of reasons. And this makes sense. The people they hurt the most are those that the elites pretend to advocate for. They did not do much learning due to home instability, the low quality of online learning compared to in-person instruction, the lack of a computer, lack of a stable internet connection, lack of electricity, and lack of caregiver support. Now remember, this is a worldwide study. It's not just the US. Younger kids and children with disabilities especially struggled with online learning. That's across the board, and it makes sense. By June of 2020, there was sufficient data to show that school closures caused more harm than good. But yet, we know what happened in this country. Randi Weingarten and the NEA continued demanding on shutdowns because, they care about the children. They're all about the children. No, they're not. They damaged our children a lot. According to this joint report, full and partial school closures lasted an average of 224 days globally. Thank you, Mark. Students in Sao Paulo, Brazil, learned only 28% of what they would have in face-to-face classes, and the risk of dropout increased more than threefold. In India, rural India, the share of third-grade students in government schools able to perform simple subtraction fell from 24% to only 16%. A company called Amplify, it's a curriculum and assessment company, showed that in kindergarten in the United States, the percentage of students at greatest risk for not learning to read rose from 29% in the middle of 2019-2020 to 37% in 21-22. School closures also widened the achievement gap among racial groups. For reading, 48% of Black first grade students are far behind. 43% of Hispanic first grade students are far behind, compared to 27% of white first grade students. And the people who advocated for this are the same people who at the same time will tell you how much they care about the children, how much they're fighting for the children, how much they're fighting for minorities, how much they're fighting for poor people in this country. They did more harm to those groups in a year and a half than anyone could do to them. And these kids are going to take forever to recover. It's not fair. NWEA is a nonprofit testing company. They reported that the median students in grades 3 to 8 were 9 to 11 percentile points behind in math, 3 to 7 percentile points behind in reading. It estimated that a 9 to 11 percentile point decline in math, if it becomes permanent, if they don't catch up, will represent a $43,800 loss in expected lifetime earnings. Close to 400 million kids worldwide missed out on school meals during closures, because they were the only reliable source of food and daily nutrition for a lot of kids. And they've also put an estimated 10 million more girls at risk of early marriage in the next decade. And again, that's worldwide. So that's probably, countries where you have a lot of, child marriages and that type of thing. Mark, it's always about the children, the people, the elderly, all of those they deem to be helpless. Yep, absolutely. Okay, moving on. Tip off time. I'm going to hurry up. Although I do have something I want you to definitely comment on. You can comment on all of these as we go along, but I want to get to some of these other stories first. Okay. And I'm not going to do that one. I prepped it and I was like, eh. Okay, this I think is important. And I'm going to ask you a question here. You could chime in here. Would you ever give an interview to the FBI or I don't know, maybe your local police? I don't know how my local police, everybody knows everybody. It's 3,500 people in town. So, I could just say to them, I know your mother. But would you ever give an interview to the FBI without your lawyer present? Because I have to tell you, I hear these stories and especially after what happened with the election and everything else, they sat on Hunter Biden's laptop. I don't trust them at all. We find out their, involvement in the Russia hoax and everything else, leaking stuff to the media. I don't think I ever would. And here's another reason. So there's a guy named William Don Tisby, 69 years old. He was an FBI agent and he's now a private investigator. I have something in my eye. And he was hired by St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kimberly Gardner to help with an investigation into Missouri Governor Eric Greitens over an alleged invasion of privacy. And he resigned in 2018 after the investigation was open. And it involved, if you remember, a picture that he allegedly took of some woman, while he was having an affair with her, and he supposedly threatened her, to let this picture go out there. The alleged picture has never been found. They just wanted to get him out. They wanted to get him out. So this is, what they do. Tisby, the former FBI agent, now a private investigator, was indicted on 7 felonies, including perjury and evidence tampering in 2019. He acknowledged he copped a plea deal. And he said that in a deposition, he pled guilty to tampering with evidence. He said in a deposition that certain documents did not exist when in fact they did exist. According to Robert Russell, the special prosecutor in the case, he said he's admitting to hiding or at least testifying that the notes that Ms. Gardner gave to him were not given to him by testifying that he did not take any notes, when in fact he did take those notes that Ms. Gardner gave him, and Ms. Gardner being the circuit attorney. He's admitting to hiding or at least testifying that the notes gave to him. Okay, read that. He also took notes from an interview with a witness and sent them to Gardner, the circuit attorney, but then lied that he never did that. She is going to face a disciplinary hearing for allegedly hiding details about the probe from members of her team. So now, because he copped a deal and he pled guilty, he could have faced prison time, but of course he copped a deal and he's a member of the party. So he will not serve any time in jail. He'll serve 1 year probation and he must pay court costs. This is why I'm finding out all these things. You got the Gretchen Whitmer case. We're finding out FBI agents were involved, and now they're looking at entrapment to try to lure these guys into this plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. And we find out that it's the FBI that's doing this and trying to get these guys involved in this. You hear about FBI agents being involved in January 6th. How involved were they? We still don't know. We won't know as long as Nancy Pelosi is in charge of the investigation, because she will only let certain documents out. She will not release videotape. They don't answer questions, about Ray Epps and others that have suddenly fallen off the list of the most wanted. They're gone. They just disappeared. Nobody knows who they are. I hear that stuff, man. I got to tell you, I used to trust our government. Not anymore. I would not. There's no way that I would answer a question from the FBI without my lawyer present. Rosalinda, no way. Bill, not without an attorney, right? Mark, nope, never. They screw the president, they'll screw everyone. Yep, they screw General Flynn. Absolutely. Here's more along those lines. That news that you're not hearing. None of this news, I don't think, is anywhere. I don't think you're hearing it. Maybe like on Fox, maybe on Newsmax, but mainstream media, if you're just trolling around, you're not going to hear it. Project Veritas obtained several legal documents from Microsoft detailing how the DOJ covertly used, quote, secret warrants, orders, and a subpoena that was approved by 6 magistrates in the Southern District of New York. Oh, we're back there. To surveil journalists attached to Project Veritas without oversight from someone called a special master. The special master is designated to protect the rights of the organization that is being spied upon. Over the course of 16 months, Project Veritas said that the DOJ and the Assistant United States Attorney Robert Sobelman justified giving the SDNY unchecked and unfettered access to the emails and contacts of James O'Keefe, who's the founder and the CEO of Project Veritas, and 7 other staff members, because the federal government claimed that there is, quote, probable cause to believe the email accounts maintained at premises controlled by Microsoft USA contained evidence, fruits, and instrumentalities of crime. Yet they didn't present any evidence to support that claim. There was no evidence attached to this to support a crime. They just said, trust us. The orders, warrants, and subpoenas commissioned by Biden's DOJ each maintained non-disclosure orders that kept Project Veritas and other judges from knowing that Microsoft had handed over over a year's worth of emails to the government. The non-disclosure orders were scheduled to expire in January of this year, but the SDNY did a little something. They sidestepped previous rulings designed to protect the organization, Project Veritas in this case, from unjustified overreach, and they renewed the orders. Now, this is all reporting by the Federalist. Microsoft took issue with the renewals and demanded that the SDNY knock it off. Microsoft pointed out that the investigation was already public because it did come out publicly, and the allegations were out there publicly. And they said there was no proof that Project Veritas would destroy evidence. It had been offered by the SDNY because they didn't give him any evidence. And as a result, Microsoft disclosed the surveillance. Isn't that a pretty word for spying? The surveillance to Project Veritas. Man, if they can spy on the president, they can spy on you very easily. And I know so many people go, oh, please, nothing we do is private. They spy on us all the time. I'm like, So why do you just accept that? Why aren't you outraged by that, right? Like, why aren't you outraged by that? It outrages me. I don't like that they're surveilling me. Yet if somebody puts something in my my postal box, my mailbox, it doesn't have a stamp on it, it's a federal offense. But the feds can tiptoe through all my correspondence if they want to. It's very, I don't know, very scary. Let's see. Project Veritas. Oh, they also went behind a judge's back to a magistrate judge to another judge to get an extension on 2 sealed non-disclosure orders to hide the fact that the government already had secret access to the journalists' correspondence. So they are lying up a storm. And I think, I want to say James O'Keefe put out a video about this, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Did you hear this? Oh, did you hear this? So remember when Joe Biden went to the Saudis to ask them to pump more oil? You know, please pump more oil because we have it here, but I won't let us do, you know, the greenies have gotten a hold of it. We can't pump oil. So I need to buy it from you. Could you please pump more? And remember, the Saudis wouldn't even take his phone call. Remember that? That was like a blip in the news. We talked about it, but they wouldn't even take his phone call. And I was like, dude, man, they won't even take your call. That's cold. That's really cold. But, you know, Joe Biden's bringing us together. Well, the Russians won't talk to Mark Milley, General Mark Milley. They won't talk to him. It's hilarious. According to the Washington Post, repeated attempts by the United States' top defense and military leaders to speak with their Russian counterparts have been rejected by Moscow for the last month. They're like, yeah, no time for you. Since Russia's invasion, again, this is still the Washington Post, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, have tried to set up phone calls with Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and General Valery Gerasimov. Very Russian. But the Russians, quote, have so far declined to engage, according to Pentagon spokesman John Kirby in a statement Wednesday. They're blowing them off. They won't take the Joint Chiefs of Staff's phone call. Come on. That's just amazing to me. It's amazing. That's huge. That's just a huge deal. Milley, now remember, there's a little reminder here in this piece by an American thinker. Milley was the one who, when Trump was president, remember, he picked up the phone, went around the president and called China to tell them, don't worry, I'll give you a heads up if he's planning anything. Insane, probably treasonous, but, you know, gets away with it because it was Trump, so it's okay. Insane. That was Mark Milley. So now they won't even talk to him, which is weird because you would think if he would give the Chinese the heads up, why wouldn't he give the Russians the heads up? Right? Why not? There are a couple theories going around as to why this is. And if you have a theory, I'd love to hear it. Just leave a comment. Let's see. Some people point to Milley's exit from Afghanistan and how disastrous it was. And that was just a signal to the whole world that we are a disaster. We don't know what we're doing. Our military is more concerned with being woke and talking about, you know, genders and white privilege and all this other stuff. And they're not really focusing on the things that are important. And that Afghan withdrawal left our military's reputation just in tatters. And they're seen as incompetent, and that Russia may view our military leaders as incompetent, and that's why they're just not even bother speaking to them. They don't fear or respect us, and sometimes fear is a good motivator. Let's see. They also say Putin's paranoid right now, and he doesn't even trust his own leaders. Actually, one of his generals. Did you hear this? One of his generals is missing. Hasn't been seen in public for a while. Might want to check. I want to check a gulag up north. Fox News has reported that his defense minister, General Sergei Shoigu, has been missing for weeks, supposedly due to heart problems. He's not been seen in public for 12 days and is possibly missing. Yeah, he's missing. All right, Jerry says spying is real. I've seen so many examples of what we say showing up on ads that we've never seen before on TV. It's not even close to a myth, it's a reality. As a matter of fact, last week in Walmart, I picked up a package of generic branded Rice Krispie treats, looked at them, and then put them back. And that night saw an ad for Rice Krispie treats. I mean, seriously, Rice Krispie treats? Whoever advertises Rice Krispie? I've actually seen ads for Rice Krispie treats, so somebody's advertising them. And how do they know how to reach my ad stream? It's a good question. I would assume Chuck is referring to Millie. Oh, Villanova 9, Michigan 12. All right, well, it's early in the game. Thank you. Bumblehead up there today acts like the free world is standing with him. What a dope. 1811 cats. Thank you, Mark. 1811. Thank you, honey. When I pay attention to the game, they lose. So I don't watch the games. I bop in and out just to check the score every now and then. Oh, my back. All right. One more story, and then I'm going to ask you a question. All right. I don't know if you saw this. Have you been watching the Ketanji Brown Jackson, or Jackson Brown? Oh my gosh, did I have it wrong? Ketanji Brown Jackson. I had it right. Have you been watching those hearings? It's crazy. That woman doesn't answer a question. They asked her, Marsha Blackburn asked her, can you define a woman? What is a woman? She said, no, I'm not a biologist. I was like, whoa. I thought she's supposed to be really smart. But she does not answer a question. She dances around. She does not answer anything. It is astounding. And listen, she may be a very good judge. She may be super well qualified, but just because you're book smart doesn't mean you're smart. I know some people who are like stupid, like book smart, and they couldn't find they can't put together a piece of IKEA furniture. Okay. They have no common sense. They can't get out of a bag without directions, but book smart, crazy book smart. And I wonder if she's one of those people, but she has no opinions on anything. She has no opinion on abortion. She has no opinion on what is a woman. She has no opinion on the sentencing of pedophiles. She sentenced a guy to 3 months. I don't know. I'm a big fan of throwing the book at pedophiles and people who possess child porn. I'm a little crazy, though. That's why I'm probably not a judge. I just don't think there's an excuse for that. And I don't think we should be confirming someone to the court who can't answer a question and has no opinion on anything. That just scares the living daylights out of me. She seems to be running on empty. Well, before the hearings began, Republicans were saying that they were having trouble getting all the documents from her record from the U.S. Sentencing Commission. It's a group that was created in 1948 for the purpose of reducing sentencing disparities and promoting transparency and proportionality in sentencing. But according to Josh Hawley, the Sentencing Commission refused to turn all of her records from her time at the Sentencing Commission. They wouldn't turn them over. Why? Well, if they're not going to turn over all of her records, why are we voting this woman in? Because she's going to get in, because Democrats are all going to vote for her. Why are we voting her in if they won't turn over all of her records? This should not be a Democrat-Republican thing. This should be we want one of, she's going to have incredible power. We should want the best person for the job, not the person who hides the records the best and dances around the questions the best. If I remember correctly, we did that with Biden last time around. Remember, Biden didn't answer any questions. And look where we are. Russia's openly mocking him. Did you see their comment about America being a haven for senile or something like that? So, all right, during the first round of her hearings on Monday, Judiciary Republicans still hadn't gotten the documents. Tuesday night, Republicans finally received the requested documents, but got them after they were given to Democrats. So they gave them to the Democrats, then they held them from the Republicans for hours before they gave them over. This shouldn't be about playing games like this. Again, I don't understand, and I never understood why the Supreme Court should be a partisan thing. It wasn't back in the day, but now everything's politicized. Everything is partisan. I look at what they did to Kavanaugh. I look at what they did to Amy Coney Barrett, which was disgusting. Both of them was horrible. And now they're just going to withhold papers. They're just not going to give you all the documents you need to be able to make a decision because we don't want the information out there. To Richard's point, answering questions exposes you. Yes, it does. And giving everybody all the information exposes you. So Mazie Hirono, crazy Mazie, she referenced Jackson's probation recommendation records during her questions, and that suggested that the Democrats had enough time to not only get the papers, not only not got them, but they had time to look through them. So Ted Cruz went off on Dick Durbin, and it was great. And I'm not going to go through that because I'm sure a lot of you saw it, but if you didn't, you should look it up. Ted Cruz asked for access to the records, and Dick Durbin's like, oh, I don't know if we have those. I don't have any of that. I don't know if I have any of that. He played stupid. And when they came back from dinner, the Republicans got a piece of paper, and Dick Durbin says, yeah, well, see, we gave it to you. Here it is. So they're not vetting her very well. And again, news you're not necessarily being told. So, all right. Here's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you about what's happening with Joe Biden. And I know a lot of times in the show, we just do a quick bit of news and then we do like a lifestyle thing. But this has been something that's been rattling around my brain for a while. And so I want to discuss it with you and give me your opinions on this. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican or liberal or not affiliated with a party, wherever you happen to be, you love Joe Biden, can't stand Joe Biden, I want to hear your opinion on this. This is for everybody. So just type it in your comments. I've said from the beginning that Joe Biden's not serving 4 years. No way is Joe Biden serving 4 years. Then I started to see the train wreck that Kamala Harris is. And I was like, oh, Joe Biden may serve 4 years, right? Because I don't know if Kamala Harris will play ball. Like, I don't know if she'll allow whoever is running the government right now. I'm thinking it's like Obama, Susan Rice, but whoever's making the decisions for Joe Biden, I don't know if Kamala Harris would cede them the same power that Joe Biden has ceded to them. So I don't know if she would play ball. But I've said that Joe Biden is not going to finish out 4 years. And you started to see a little while ago, probably the end of last year, you started to see dribs and drabs coming out in the media where they were questioning Joe Biden. There was a little bit of negative news that actually came out. They weren't covering for him anymore. And I thought, And then when I saw the New York Times come out with, oh, yeah, you know what? The emails are verified. Oops, our bad. Sorry, we swung the election. Sorry, our bad. We didn't mean to do it at all. When that came out, I was like, here we go. This is it. The Democrats put out the message to the media because, they get the talking points and they dutifully report them. Joe Biden's on his way out. I think they are preparing Joe Biden for the slow walk off the plank. Joe Biden's going. And again, this is just my opinion. But when you start to see negative news being published about Joe Biden's going. When you see the New York Times admit and the Washington Post admit that everything we said all along about the laptop was true, and everything that the New York Post got thrown off of Twitter for saying was actually true. When you see, them starting to say, oh, yeah, and Hunter's being investigated for tax fraud. They're going to get him on tax fraud, When you see all that, I start to think, oh, okay. Now, I don't think that Hunter Biden, because you're hearing that Hunter Biden's going to be indicted on several things, right? That's what came. It's not just going to be tax fraud. It's going to be other things. Hunter Biden's going to be indicted. And that, of course, leads to Joe Biden, because the big guy's wrapped up in all of this, as we know. I don't think there'll be an investigation that goes that far. Here's what I think happens. I think that Hunter probably gets slapped for not registering as a foreign agent. I mean, they put Paul Manafort in jail for that, but Hunter will just get slapped on the wrist, have to pay a fine, and that's going to be the ding, and then that's it, and off he goes, and that's going to be the end of it. And then if Republicans get in the midterms and they have any guts, they'll actually launch an investigation. And the government, the deep staters, will cover up the information. Did you see the Secret Service lost 3 years of records of Hunter Biden? They've been protecting him all along, and they lost 3 years of records. Okay, that's what's going to happen. There's never going to be a real indictment, a real investigation. Hunter's not going to go down on the things he should have gone down, like lying on a handgun, a federal firearms license, permit form, punishable by jail. He's not going to go down for that. I don't think Joe will ever really be caught up in it. But here's my question. Why now? And where do they go from here? If they are truly slow walking Joe Biden off the plank, because he's not useful to them. He's a joke. He's not useful to them. He was useful in order to seize power so that Donald Trump didn't get reelected, right? So he was useful for that. They hid him in the basement. The media lied for the Democrats. The FBI hid Hunter Biden's computer for the Democrats. Social media did what they had to do in order to, silence any voice that would have gotten Joe Biden, especially about the computer, right? It would have been like Hillary's emails all over again, but this time they just silenced it all. So they got him in, they maintained their power. But now what? So if they are slow walking him off the plank, as I think they're doing, I don't know what the next play is, because Kamala goes into the presidency. I don't know, maybe Kamala will play ball, and she'll let those making the decisions behind the scenes continue to make the decisions, and she'll just read a teleprompter, because Lord knows you can't let her go out there and make a speech, because the woman can't string a sentence together. I mean, she's just as bad as Joe. So maybe she'll do it in order to just be the first minority Black Indian, president. She'll do that so she can have that mantle. But after her, it's Pelosi. Dear Lord, the Democrats got to be looking at the lineup and looking at the bench and going, what the hell have we done? So I want to know if you agree with me that they're slow walking him off the plank, but where does he go next? And, what's the play after that? Because I'm not quite sure what the play is after that. So just write it in the comments. Nothing will likely happen to Hunter. Poor little drug addict, yeah. Conspiracy theory. Dem speak for spoiler alert. So along those lines, all right. And here's the other thing I thought, and I made a note of some of these. Are the Russians threatening to expose Hunter and Joe? And the Democrats know that's coming. So they're trying to do some damage control by slowly leaking out, like, oh yeah, the laptop was real. Oh yeah, the emails were verified. Yeah, Hunter's being investigated. Yeah, tax evasion, tax fraud, like trying to soften the blow as they often do. They leak it out piece by piece. It's a slow drip, so that by the time it all comes out, everybody's like, oh, that was nothing. There's no bombshell. I wonder if Putin is threatening to expose Joe Biden. That's just me. All right. So there is that. Did you know Biden is between the 3rd and 5th most ratings underwater president ever in American history at this point in time? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. And do you think the Republicans will appoint a special counsel to investigate Hunter? Because I don't know. They say they're going to do it. But even if they do, I just don't think the deep state plays ball. I think the Secret Service maintains that they lost 3 years of files on Hunter Biden. Such crap. And they didn't lose 3 years of files. They probably destroyed them, and they're never going to be seen again. They're just not going to produce them. I just don't think if they do, it doesn't go anywhere. Linnea, I agree that Biden will walk the plank. Kamala and Pelosi, I can't think of anything worse, though. But so here's the thing, and I've told you this before. If Biden goes either through the 25th Amendment or because there's an indictment or whatever happens, if he goes, the vice president assumes presidency, right? We all know that. So that's Kamala Harris. In order to get a vice president, she gets to put up a candidate for vice president. However, that candidate must be confirmed by both houses. So both the Senate and the Congress Senate and House have to vote that person in. All right. If Republicans hold both houses, they can prevent that from happening, and she doesn't have a vice president. So that would put the Speaker of the House below the president, which would be a Republican. I'm just saying that might be the way to play it. But I don't know if the Republicans have the guts to do that. Mark, whoever they truly are, they are all for themselves. They are not for the people. It's all a farce on their end. I have a 9-year-old sitting next to me. You can say yes, because you raised your 9-year-old right. You did. Biden and Harris goes, Pelosi takes over. Yeah, but Phil, that's only if it happens before the midterms, and only if Republicans don't take the House. We are indeed shit if Harris gets in with Pelosi. Yeah, but again, Republicans can stop that from happening. Pelosi goes bye-bye. Pelosi just becomes a member of the House if she gets reelected again, dear Lord. But if the Republicans take the House, then you would have a Republican would be speaker. Some late breaking news. Along the lines of this whole thing that we're talking about with Biden, Russia said today, according to the Telegraph, the British newspaper, the Telegraph, that the Rosemont Seneca Investment Fund, sounds familiar because it's led by Hunter Biden, is funding the Pentagon's military biological program in the Ukraine. According to Russia's State Duma speaker, Volodin, I'm going by the last name, on his Telegram channel, according to TASS, said U.S. President Joe Biden must explain his son Hunter's involvement in the operation of biological laboratories in Ukraine. The head of Russian Armed Forces, head of radiation, chemical, and biological defense forces. They have a guy who's head of that. Lieutenant General Igor Kilorov is head of the Radiation, Chemical, and Biological Defense Forces. I thought those were all like illegal weapons, right? Like, aren't they illegal? Not that Russia cares, but they've actually made it official. Said that the incoming materials allow us to trace the scheme of interaction between U.S. government agencies and Ukrainian biological objects. Attention is drawn to the involvement in the financing of these activities of structures close to the current U.S. leadership, in particular the Rosemont Seneca Investment Fund, which is headed by Hunter Biden. The program is also financially supported by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. You're hearing a lot about them. The George Soros Foundation, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, according to Lieutenant General Kirillov. He claimed that one of the scientific curators of the Pentagon's military biological program in Ukraine was Los Alamos Nuclear Center. And he goes on. So there you go. Yeah, maybe they're hitting a little bit too close to home for the Bidens and the Democrats, and maybe they got to get rid of Biden now before he is pushed out with an impeachment. What if they are waiting until the midterms to see the results, then jam it through before January 1st when new houses take power? Oh, the new VP, Jerry? Yeah, I guess. That's a thought. A preemptive strike, but these people are such a disaster. It could be for multiple reasons. Yeah, maybe it is. Okay, so one other thing that plays into all of this that I wanted to share with you, and then I promise to stop talking your ear off, and I'm going to go check in on the game again. This is late breaking news today. Donald Trump sued Hillary Clinton, the Democratic National Committee, and others. I'll tell you who else he sued. So Hillary Clinton, the DNC, he also sued former DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Clinton campaign chief John Podesta, law firm Perkins Coie, research firm Fusion GPS, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Christopher Steele. He sued them under the RICO statute. The suit says that Clinton and other defendants, as part of were part of a purported scheme and they falsified evidence, deceived law enforcement authorities, and exploited access to highly sensitive data sources in a way that even the events of Watergate pale in comparison. He's seeking more than $72 million in damages. It's an amount that's triple. He spent $24 million in legal fees and other damages, $24 million in legal fees and other damages he's accrued as a result of their, he says, as a result of their conduct. Went 72 million. Listen, you scoff at this. This guy got a hooker to pay him like $300,000. Doesn't Stormy Daniels have to pay him $300,000? I mean, show me another guy who supposedly, he denies it, sleeps with a hooker, right? Or a stripper, whatever you want to call her. And she has to pay him. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Trump, right? So he's asking for 72 million in damages. I love that. Um, his suit says that while the scheme was designed to rig the 2016 election, when their gambit failed and Donald J. Trump was elected, the defendants' efforts continued unabated, merely shifting their focus to undermining his presidential administration. The suit alleges violations of the RICO Act, conspiracy, injurious falsehood, malicious prosecution, computer fraud and abuse, theft of trade secrets, and other claims. Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, said in an email, the lawsuit filed today outlines the defendant's nefarious plot to vilify Donald J. Trump by spreading lies to weave a false narrative that he was colluding with Russia. For years, Hillary Clinton and her cohorts attempted to shield themselves from culpability by directing others to do their dirty work for them. This lawsuit seeks to hold all parties accountable for their heinous acts and uphold the principles of our sacred democracy. So this could get good. But that just broke before, a couple hours ago, so I wanted to share that with you. Linnea, I'm back from my puppy hike in the woods, and you're with me the whole way. I can hear all of it, even with all the woofing. Thank you. Thank you. Don't tell me Nova needs to be read to stick it. You're jinxing it. Stop watching. Don't watch the game. Stop watching the game. You're jinxing it, Mark. Stop it. Listen, and if anybody, just drop a note somewhere along the line. If you're in the Facebook group, let me know if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Which would be great if you did, because the more people that subscribe, I can start to get some guests on and stuff. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, I want to know if it directs you to Google, because someone said that happened to her, so she didn't want to sign up. So again, I can't sign up to my own page. I can't subscribe to my own page. So if you subscribe, just let me know where it sent you and what they ask you, because I don't know if she had like a glitch or she was clicking on the wrong thing or what was going on there. Wait, 2 more comments and I'll get to these 2 comments. Thank you, Mark. Any party defaming their opponent with lies deserves full punishment. Yes, they do, Mike. Absolutely. Add the Clinton Foundation. Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms. All right. Thank you for bearing with me and listening to me yammer on. I appreciate it. I hope you found it interesting. Again, feel free to give me comments in the Facebook group or here on YouTube to let me know what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. You can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm there as well. I got an alert that you were going live, but I'll look at YouTube. I'm subscribed there, so I should get out an alert there too. Yeah, but I'm not even talking about alerts. I'm talking about when you sign up. No, but I'm not, Jerry, not right to my channel. If you hit subscribe, if you hit the subscribe link on YouTube, because we need people to subscribe, you can watch is great, but the more subscriptions is what we need. So if you click where it says subscribe on Mary Walter Radio, it says, I got to know where it goes from there. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because I can't do that because I can't subscribe to my own channel, I guess. So you did subscribe, no issues. Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. James will hopefully be back next Thursday. If not, we could do this again. And like I said, give me feedback, good, bad, ugly. I'm fine with it. I don't take it personally. Oh, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. You know what it is? It's the background. It's the Villanova that's doing it. Oh, you know what I should do as we go out here? Hang on. We could do this as I go out here. Give me a second. Shoot. I hate this. I got to do this. Then I got to go here. Then I got to go here. Hold on. Okay, ready? See if I have it tuned up. I will only subject you to that. Oh dear, it's going for 2. Oh, stop. I will only subject you to that during March Madness. Have a great week, everybody. I will see you next Thursday here around 7:15. Thank you for so much for all the input. I appreciate it. Mwah. Love you. And I have to go to here. And there.